Hey guys, what's going on? This is Darryl Addison at torpedopot.com. Darryl Addison at torpedopot.com. And we make self-growing planters. They grew 254 tomatoes. 254 tomatoes in 3 months. In an area that's only about 4 feet by 15 feet. No, we didn't take everything off of it because my goal was to remove the tomatoes that were too heavy for the planter. We have more tomatoes that are on the way, and I want to make room for them. We're averaging, I guess, about 25 tomatoes in each planter so far, but there's more to come, and I need to make room for more that's about to come. So the purpose of me taking these tomatoes off, all 254 of them, is to show you what you can do with your planters. Now, let's take a step back. These tomatoes are not ripe. For me personally, I love green tomatoes. I cook my green tomatoes and they taste delicious. I mean, I use them in my foods, and yesterday night I made some spaghetti with my tomatoes and it was delicious. As you can see, a couple of them are starting to mature and turn red, but reason why, some of these are small, some of these are really big, but yeah, some of them are very, very small. They're tiny. And when I took and started cutting, some of them fell off, and I was just like, oh my gosh, let me just take them and store them anyhow. So this is what's going on with your tomato planter. 254 tomatoes. Now, for you as an individual grower, you don't have to harvest the way I did. I harvested these planters because I'm growing professionally. I'm pushing these planters to be able to get the maximum amount of tomatoes from each one of these planters. And that's the reason why you see them growing the way you do. And that's why I have irregular sizes and everything else. If I left them on a tomato plant, they'll do just fine. But I chose not to. The weight was compromising the life of my tomato plant. And I don't like my tomato plant's life to be compromised. As you can see, we didn't take off everything. The goal was not to take off every tomato we see. The goal was to alleviate the weight by taking off a majority of the tomatoes. So there's still more in there, and we've got to set them up. As you can see, a lot more. The weight has just thrown them to the ground, so there's still some tomatoes on them. So our goal is to have 50 tomato plants per planter. As you can see, I've numbered the planters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 being worst case scenario because it's growing in the shade. But let's see what they did. Let's see how they performed. Planter number 1, 29 tomatoes. Again, we didn't let them go to their full life expectancy, okay? That's not the goal of this video. The goal of this video is to show you how to push your tomato plants. Your environment is going to be totally different from my environment. So I don't want you to match them up and think they have to be the same. So planter number 1, which is right here, delivered how many tomatoes? A total of 29 tomatoes. Planter number 2, which is this right here, and you saw the little tomatoes that were on there, delivered 20 tomatoes. Planter number 3, which is this planter right here, delivered 21 tomatoes. Planter number 4, which is this planter right here, number 4, delivered 34 tomatoes. Planter number 5, which is the planter over here, delivered 28 tomatoes. Planter number 6, which is this planter right here, delivered 20 tomatoes. Planter number 7, it's right here, delivered 32 tomatoes. Planter number 8, which is this planter right here, right here, delivered 24 tomatoes. Planter number 9, which is the planter right here, little baby planter right there, delivered 28 tomatoes. And planter number 10, which is that planter right there in the shade, delivered 18 tomatoes. Now, I didn't, like I said, I didn't take everything off of these tomato plants. And I just basically wanted you guys to see what's going on, because we have 4 by 15 feet that produces 254 tomatoes thus far, and that is not it. Torpedo pot is no joke. Now, once you start taking off your tomatoes, the need for the tomato plant to have water is going to be reduced. And that's why you see water, because the tomato plants are no longer in the tomatoes are no longer in the planter to utilize the water that's been given to it by the planter. So I'll cut my planter back and reduce the watering frequency, probably to about, consist there, nice big plants, maybe about 1 minute an hour to 2 minutes an hour. I'm not sure. I have to debate and see. I have to test it out now. But again, these tomatoes that you're seeing and you're looking at right now, I have not let them grow to their full life expectancy. All of these tomatoes should be big like this. As you can see, they're starting to turn red. This one's soft. I'm going to take this one out of here. But they should be big like this one. They should be huge. But again, they're not, because I picked them off early, because I didn't want to jeopardize the health of my plants. All right, Darrell Addison at torpedopot.com. Darrell Addison at torpedopot.com, where we make self-growing planters, and they're amazing, guys. You need to get your own self-growing planter. Observations, no insect bites. These are purely organic. 254 organic tomatoes. Organic. These are the most healthiest tomatoes on the market. I use the word organic, but they're not organic. They're based upon a concept that I developed called biotic. This is a biotic environment where the microorganisms are doing the work to grow your food. 254 tomatoes in a biotic environment. So what I'm going to do, observation number 1, is that there's no blemishes, no insect bites. You don't have that problem with these tomatoes. You don't have that problem with these tomatoes. These are perfect tomatoes, grown organically. We grow more tomatoes organically than you can grow with fertilizers. I want you to let that sink in for a minute, okay? Let that sink in for a minute. We grow more tomatoes organically than you can grow with fertilizers. No blemishes. No bite marks. No death. None of that takes place. The tomato plant has its own natural defenses. What do I need fertilizers for to defend it and grow it for? It grows by itself. Remember now, you don't grow your food. Nobody can grow food. Nobody can grow you. Everything that has life grows and develops by itself. Its foundational principle based upon growth is not based upon what man can do. Man is a part of that growth. How can he control growth when it's already integrated into our overall living environment? We're supposed to grow. We're supposed to take off. And that's what we're doing. We're creating an environment so that tomato plants can take off. Now, this is just absolutely stunning. I've got to stand these back, the ones that are ground back up, which were these right here. But they're absolutely stunning. They are absolutely stunning. And they will continue to grow as long as I allow them to create an environment for them to grow. Observation number 2, there's no death. You don't see any death in this torpedo pot. And this planter, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I think 13, 14, 15, 16, I think maybe 16 planters, tomato plants inside of this one planter. And this is planter number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, planter number 6. And planter number 6 produced over, right here, 20 tomatoes. So there's more to come. Do not underestimate the power of your torpedo pot. Observation number 3. The soil. The soil in your torpedo pot can be used indefinitely. I don't want you going thinking that you have to change the soil to make things grow. The soil is the engine of the planter. The minute you run out of this, you run out of life. Notice how this is dry at the top. We want it to be dry. We don't want any bacteria growing in our planter. but it has moist down below. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful soil? That soil is amazing, guys. That's amazing. And you know what's doing all that work? Your environment, your biotic environment is doing all that work. All right, I just wanted to show you these so you can have an idea of what's going on and what to expect for you and your, not only we're going to, remember now, we grew, in 10 planters, we grew, I would say 550, I think, pea pods. Now, just the beginning stages, and we haven't let it go throughout its full life cycle because we had to put peppers in those planters. And these planters right here, we're gonna let it go out their full life cycle. So automatically, in just a 4 by 11 foot area, we have 254 tomatoes. We wanna push this to 500 tomatoes. Help me push it. Tell me what I have to do to push this to 500 tomatoes. Our greatest challenge right now is going to be standing these plants up. I'm gonna ask you guys forgiveness. Right now, you don't see some of our new advancements in technology, but we have what is called a gate. And these gates support the tomatoes so that you won't have this falling over. They will actually, you lift the rail up and it will go all the way up in the air as far as 10 feet. So you can actually do what you want to do when it comes to the rail. So, Darrell Addison, torpedopot.com. Darrell Addison, torpedopot.com.